a big thing we talked about on this program, unfortunately, while the Celtics were being eliminated by the Knicks in the playoffs last year, is don't just talk about it, be about it, right? And I feel as if the standards you set for yourself is not just talking about being in the media sphere, you're in the media sphere. That's what we've always talked about here is actually doing the work, right? That's important in media. But you've done a ton of media work over time and you've been in different cities. I mean, you've been up in the New England area, obviously, media up there, Oklahoma City, Denver, and now San Antonio. How did you make it to each one of these locations and how did you find the opportunities at these locations?
Yeah, so I basically, when I was graduating college, I applied to everything. I applied to play-by-play jobs in minor league baseball. I applied to newspaper jobs. I applied to local TV jobs. And it's really, really hard to get a play-by-play job out of college. So I sort of knew that I would probably end up being a sportscaster on the news for a little bit. And so that was what happened. So I actually got hired for a news station, the NBC station in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that's like an hour 15 from Oklahoma City. And I got there and had no idea even where Oklahoma was on the map, but it was market number 61. So in local television, they ranked the cities from, the highest ranked market to the lowest. I think there's like over 200 media markets or whatever. And to start in market 61 as a 21-year-old was actually really, really, really good because a lot of my friends were starting in market 120, 150, 199. And so when I got to Tulsa, I was like, all right, this is great. I have a great opportunity. I didn't know anything about Oklahoma. I didn't know anything about college sports because we grew up in New England. It's all about the pro teams. Like we don't really care about college. So I had to learn college football on the fly. I was covering the Sooners. I was covering Oklahoma State. I was covering the University of Tulsa football, basketball. And so that really got me going in the college space. But then I would also get to drive down and go to Oklahoma City and cover the Thunder from time to time. And I made that trip worth it every single time. I went there and I introduced myself to NBA broadcasters that I would see come through the building. I would pretend to announce games to myself. I would get all my work done for the news station, right? If there was a playoff game, for example, I think it was like Blazers Thunder. That year that I think Damian Lillard hit that big shot in the playoffs to sink the Thunder. I would go upstairs into an unknown like booth and just announce the game into my camera, or record it, pretend I was on the radio, and like get reps that way, and just save that tape and use it, for feedback from my mentors or for other people. I would, like I said, introduce myself to people. I had known Brian Scalabrine from when I was interning in Boston. So when the Celtics came to town, Scal knew I was there, and so we were catching up. And I was like, "Dude, can we record like a practice open to like a broadcast?" He's like, "Let me ask Paul Lucy, our producer." Paul said yes. So I got to hop on there as a 21-year-old. The crew let me record something with Scal. It was amazing. It was eye-opening. Like that, I used that to apply to other things, and that was just a practice thing. But people saw that I could do it, and so that made me be like, okay, this kid has something. Like he's with Scal. He's presentable. He looks good. He sounds good. All that sort of thing. I had an agent at the time, and they really liked that idea. So just doing that sort of stuff, going down to OKC really, really started like my name being brought up in like NBA conversations. And then I was there for 2 years, and then COVID happened. So there was no live sports going on. So I really couldn't get any play-by-play jobs that way. And so, but there was still news openings happening around the country, like sports on the news. And so that's where Denver came in. I worked for the NBC station in Denver, moved there during COVID, covered the Broncos, covered the Nuggets, covered the Avalanche, covered the Rockies for 4 years. The Nuggets won the championship in 2023, and I was right in the thick of it. I was with the team the whole time in the playoffs. I was in the locker room celebrating after doing my job, interviewing all the guys. We were then celebrating because it was a cool moment, first championship in almost 50 years for them. But on the side in Denver, I was calling college basketball. I started doing Division II out there, and then I did Wyoming games for a little bit. And then Fox Sports wanted to hire me for a couple games. And then the Pac-12 Network wanted to hire me. So it all snowballs. And I was starting off just doing Colorado games, University of Colorado, Buffalo games. Then they started flying me out to different places, to Utah, to Oregon, to USC. I did Bronny James's debut on the Pac-12 Network. Like that stuff started happening. And your name gets thrown around even more. And then the NBA, again, had heard about me, so they brought me on to do some G League work in Vegas at their G League showcase for NBA TV. And so I did G League games. And then the Spurs sort of heard about me through that way and through another avenue, through a mentor I have. And now I'm here. So your name travels when you put in that work and you put in that time. And so I was always just all over the place. I was introducing myself. I would always make it clear, hey, I'm Jacob. I work at, this news station or that news station, but I want to call games in the NBA one day, and I'm working towards that. So I always just made sure to state my goals to everywhere I went, even if it was my bosses at the news stations too. And they understood, like they got it. I worked super hard for them, but at the same time, they knew what I really wanted to do,
And you've obviously done a lot in media, as you're explaining, and now you're a play-by-play commentator for the Spurs, which brings a whole different challenge than all of what you've done in the past. How does it compare going from being a news anchor in Denver to being a play-by-play host with the San Antonio Spurs? What kind of changes in lifestyle does that bring?
Oh, I mean, lifestyle. Geez, I mean, we're so fortunate because we get to travel with the team. We get to stay in these very nice hotels. We get to fly in a private plane. Like that stuff is otherworldly. I dreamed about it growing up, and now I'm, sitting on the plane with all these guys, and it's crazy in these amazing hotels. And we go from city to city, and you're just with the team. Everything revolves around the team, right? When I was covering the Nuggets for 9 News in Denver, I was there, but I wasn't, because I was also doing stuff with the Broncos. I was also in studio doing college football. And so you're kind of doing everything at the news station. Whereas with the Spurs, I'm just calling their games. I'm at every practice. I'm getting to know the guys. I know everyone's story really well. And I think that's the main difference, right? You're an everyday person with the Spurs versus you're covering a broad range of topics with the news station. And it's amazing, right? I mean, our schedule is so crazy because we work pretty much almost every other day or every day from October or September till April or whenever your team's eliminated, right? And summer's kind of slow. News station's always going. There's always a story. There's always something going on. Off season, training camp, trades, free agency. There's always stuff going on, but there's no games for me to call in the summer, really, unless I was doing baseball. So that's sort of the main difference between the two.
Yeah, and obviously too, if anybody works in media, there's a lot of career moments, right? Have you had a career moment yet in San Antonio? You've only been on the play-by-play for one season, which I expect many more seasons lay in front of you. But have you had a career moment with the Spurs thus far?
I mean, I think like my third week on the job, Wemby scored 50 points, and it was amazing. And like my voice was everywhere. It was on social media. It was on, wherever you looked, really. And so for him to do that, for my voice to be attached to that, like that's super cool. I just feel like it's such a big responsibility. I'm documenting history. I'm documenting not only his career, but every player's career on, either the Spurs or another team, right? Whoever we're playing. Right. So I just feel a big responsibility to live up to that moment. And so I felt like I did that in the 50-point game. And that was probably the most memorable game. And that happened really early. The Spurs had so much going on last year, with Pop only coaching a handful of games and then having to leave, with Victor getting, the blood clot after, ironically, the last game he played was in the Garden in Boston, which was an awesome moment for me and my family. My whole family was there. They rented out a whole freaking suite. Like, it was insanity. All my friends were there from high school and college, and my middle school best friends. And that night was the last time we saw Wemby for a long time. So those were like two memorable moments in the season, but there were so many others, like big time dunks from the Rookie of the Year, Steph Castle, who, was in the dunk contest. I can't list everything that happened last year, but those and just meeting Coach Pop too, like, was an all-time high for me. I think like he was super, super nice, super genuine. You hear things about Coach Pop, right? Especially living on the East Coast, where we didn't get to watch the Spurs a lot, didn't hear too much about them. You just would see them from time to time on national TV. Right. But to actually get to meet the guy, the legend, and just understand him was a thrill for me. So those were sort of the standouts, I think.